What's that buzzing, man?
Buzz, 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 buzz.
I'm going to edit this so they probably won't be able to hear the buzzing, but there's an infernal buzzing in the background right now, and it's my wine cooler. I don't keep wine in it. I keep beer. Beer, Spencer.
Beers.
Brews. Oh, I didn't know what would actually be a better cold open than what I was going to talk about. We can still talk about that. I will be published tomorrow, so as the...
Oh, nice. Is that sooner than originally?
No, that was supposed to be this week.
Okay.
So as the airing of this episode will be last Friday, I should probably bring up the website. I am published in Coalition Works. I have 2 poems, Spencer. It's a very nice magazine, too. I got the proofs, and it looks really cool. I'll have to show you when we're off air. But the website, let me bring up the actual website. And I'll put this on my website as well. That'll probably be tomorrow, actually. So go to calebjamesk.com, and you can just find it right on my publication history that I am putting up. So the website, if you want to go, because it's a little bit of a longer name, is coalitionofdigitalnarrative.org. So that's where you could go and see the magazine's Coalition Works. This is the winter issue. You can download it as a free PDF. Like I said, it's really nice. Or I'm pretty sure he puts the stuff up online too. So you could probably read my work online. But that's pretty cool.
Now, is that just like a strictly poem?
No, they
thing?
had, I believe, I'll have to go through because I didn't read it yet. I only looked at my piece and, make sure everything was okay. I think there might be fiction, but it would be really short fiction. They try to keep everything down to, I think, a page. So, like, if you had you could have a poem that'll be 2 pages in the book, but they try to keep it, minimal. So, I think if it would be anything, it'd be flash fiction or, what's that? Not drabble, dabble, drabble, dribble, drabble, drabble,
something like that, yeah.
droggle, driggle, 7 days later, drabble, jism. That's how we always go. We end up on jism. But anyway, look at that and read it and tell me what you think. I have one that'll be coming in February where you could actually vote on it. That's the one I'll have to really get people to... Why the voting? I don't even know what that does, but I want to get in their anthology. I am not going to mention that one by name just yet until that... I think that's a good practice, not mention the name until you're actually officially published by them, because anything can happen. Like, the website could just go down.
Yeah.
Or the publication could go under because of some fucking copyright bullshit. I'm sure that's happened to somebody out there with their great Halloween submissions. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But other than that, great news. As far as cold opens, I mentioned this to you. It feels like years ago, but it was literally minutes ago off air. And this is already old news by the time this episode drops. For those in the know, Lex Fridman, he is... I don't know what his actual... I have to look up his actual title of what he is.
He sounds like a professional wrestler.
Yeah, that's a good name for that. He's a computer scientist, so that's what comes up. I remember him on the Joe Rogan podcast years ago, and I'm sure he still goes on there. I just don't listen anymore. He was like a really smart guy, and he's into literature and just smart guy stuff. He probably plays chess, all that shit. Well, he posted... This is the weirdest thing I've seen recently. I actually caught a video. This is what made me dive further, because I don't follow him on anything. I'm not invested in this man's life. But from any videos, I like there was a couple times where just people were whatever on his YouTube channel. I'll just catch him like interviewing somebody, and I just like really interesting conversations. Like he's like real chill, kind of monotone, just relays cool information. So I'm like, I like that stuff. He just interviews people and they have a conversation. Well, I caught a video he posted on YouTube where not an apology video. It was like him defending something. I was like, what is this? He had a big Twitter problem, like a big Twitter beef or something. I was like, what the fuck's going on? And nothing else to do. I clicked on the video. The stupidest fucking thing. The guy posted his 2023 reading list, the books he was going to read, and Twitter just dogpiled on him and shit all over him.
Because it wasn't what they thought he should have been reading?
No. There was a few people, because I think like one of the books he had on there was Fight Club. So I didn't see it personally or anything or hear anything. I'm just saying probably some people were, for some reason, if you read or watch Fight Club or like Fight Club, people just shit on you for that. But he had a couple books that might fall into that category.
When did Fight Club not become cool? Remember when Fight Club was cool?
It's like The Matrix. The fucking right winger Andrew Tate's took it over. You're not into the whole red pill bullshit, but it's like a bunch of dude bro super sigma chads, alpha degenerates. They do is
they gotta ruin all the good things.
They take the message of Fight Club, make it completely unironic in their devotion to it, even though in the the book and the movie it's like
they're making fun of the thing that
masculine
they're doing.
nature is ridiculous, but they actually take it at face value, make it serious, and then they devote their lives to that, just like the Matrix. You gotta escape the Matrix. And I don't want to get into that shit.
They're trying to do like a real life Project Mayhem.
Yeah, but yeah,
God damn
just
it.
them fucking kind of people. But that's not even like the main thing. It was like a bunch of really smart guys, and then what he was like genuinely hurt by is people he looked up to or people he really enjoyed. I don't know if talking to, but like people he respected, like different scientists and stuff. Fucking shit all over him because his book list. And the main thing was because some of his goal was to read a book a week.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And some of the books he had on there, I think like the Brothers Karamazov or something, like long books, or think like War and Peace or something. You can't read that in a week, right?
Yeah.
At least not most normal people. And these people, the main thing I see that I caught from the smarty pants, they were shitting on him, the academic types, because you can't enjoy fine literature within a week. And then in the video, he discusses, well, I've read most of these books. The Brothers Karamazov, for instance, he said I think he's read in English and in Russian, and he's reread it like other times. Like he's rereading a lot of these books. So it's not like he has to take a deep dive. It's not like me reading Ulysses for the first time. It'd be more like me reading Ulysses for the 5th time where I'm just picking out cool things I enjoy. And I brought this up because this is going to touch on our actual episode, so we'll get into that. Like, what kind of toxic society are we living in now where your book, like what books you're going to read for the year, your book list, your personal book list, people fucking dogpile on you and cyberbully you because of what you're reading.
Especially when it's not like anything like offensive.
It's not like, yeah, Mein Kampf on there or something.
Yeah, I could see if then like, and I don't know which way he leans politically, but like say, you know, he wanted to read some books that leaned more to the right and have the left yell at him. Or if he wanted to read some books that more lean to the left and have the right, like, you know what I mean? At least that stuff, like, that's still stupid as shit. But at least that was like, oh, well, it kind of makes sense. That all kind of plays together in that. But for, like, fiction things, like, I don't understand.
I don't know. Even if you, like, say I had Atlas Shrugged on my reading list for some reason. I wouldn't, but say I did. You know, it's just a fictional book with some fucking stupid political nonsense, but you know, because Ayn Rand's so hated in, you know, anybody that's like the super, probably libertarian, not even say the right, like libertarian groups. But that's one of those books. Like, if I had that on my list, people would judge me. Like, why can't I read Mein Kampf if I wanted to? Not saying I'm reading it because I'm fucking idolize Hitler. Maybe I just want to know what the fuss is about, you know? Like, if I read the Bible, that doesn't mean I'm Christian or Catholic or Muslim. If I read the Quran, like, I don't understand why what you read means that's what you're devoted. You might not even like it.
You know, I just thought of too, and the most probably asinine thing about the whole situation is that he's catching shit from people who probably aren't gonna read a book a year.
That's what a lot of people were saying in the comments. Like, fucking all the people giving him shit for this and picking on him probably never even read a book or they're not gonna read a book. So here's his list, and I think this is a pretty good list for like just variation factor here. 1984 by George Orwell, solid choice.
Yeah.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, solid choice. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. The Stranger by Camus. And like, again, he read a lot. If he hasn't read all of these books already, he's read most of them probably.
Yeah, he's just doing rereads.
And a lot of, like, so far, none of these books, you could read these in a week.
Yeah.
So far. Especially if he reads fast. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. On the Road by Jack Kerouac. Foundation by Isaac Asimov. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Old Man and the Sea by Hemingway. 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. Animal Farm by George Orwell. Man Searching for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. I never heard of that one, but a lot of people were shitting on it. That was like the one book people were like, that's just a bad book. So I've never heard of it. Metamorphosis, Hunger Artist by Franz Kafka. The Plague by Camus. We have to read The Plague by Camus too, because a lot of people say that's actually their favorite Camus.
Okay.
And I like The Stranger, so I'm down for, I don't know how long it is. Players of Games by Ian Banks. Fight Club by Polinick. The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. I always mispronounce this, so sorry. Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. Dune by Frank Herbert. And Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And honestly, the Brothers Karamazov is the only one on that list I think would really require a month or more of reading.
Yeah, I mean...
And the way he said it, too, is like, well, you know, The Stranger by Camus is only going to take me a day or two. Some of these books will only take me a couple hours to read, and then I'm just going to start reading, like, the Brothers Karamazov. So even though I say it's a book a week, like, I could read that for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, because
the other ones are shorter.
Yeah, you can just throw those stories in wherever you have some free time.
Well, even so, who cares what the time frame is? He just wants to read these books in the year. So why? And, like, nobody contested that the books were bad choices for the most part. So why are we dogpiling on a guy? And like I said, I don't really know the guy Like, I don't know, like you were saying about his political leaning stuff. I don't really know. I've heard him on a couple interviews, and I watch some of his videos every once in a while if he has a guest I know. Like, I don't really follow the guy. So just going at face value, why shit on anyone for their book list? That's so stupid. But that's just how...
like, that's a pretty solid list, it seems
That's
like.
what I thought, but just how toxic society is now. You can't even post things, like, not even things he's saying he likes. Like, if I posted a book list, here's the list of books I want to read this year, like we did. We haven't read them, so we don't even know if we like them, but somebody could just come and shit on you because, like, you know, it's a bad faith book or something. What do they call that? Not a red pill book. There's a term for that, but it's like the hot button, because that's what they call people who like Fight Club and The Matrix, and it's just like, just because I like those things or I want to watch them or read them for the first time doesn't mean I'm actually engaging in the activity that you think is associated with that.
That's just to echo the things the last week's comment, episodes of, like, that's another thing why, like, things are just shitty is because, like,
you can't even like things anymore.
Yeah, without having somebody jump down your throat, or to, like you said, even to be like, I'm going to try this. I don't know if I like this yet. I might read this and I might agree with you guys that it's hot.
You might not even know the history of it.
Yeah.
Like, somebody might go into Fight Club now who was born in the 2000s, wasn't even born when it came out. They might not know anything about it. I just think it's really lazy to judge and categorize people by things they watch or read.
You can't enjoy something because somebody else took that thing over.
Yeah.
Perfect example is there was a guy that we used to work with during the time of the Sons of Anarchy came out.
And we call that the before times.
The before times. And I was like, those first couple of seasons, I was super into this show. And then this guy showed up and he was super, super into it, like tattoos and stuff. And he was living it. But without living it. That's the thing. Yeah. He was fake live. I hate that when somebody fake lives it too. It's like, I don't want any of the actual things. Like, I wanted the look of it, the appeal of it, but I don't actually want to be involved in biker life or anything like that. But, like, he made me, like, almost like I finished watching the show, but it was just more out of a commitment now. Yeah. Just like, but I wasn't enjoying it as much because he just ruined it for me. And, like, that's not the same scale of, like, you can't, like, enjoy The Matrix and Fight Club because somebody from a different party, or whatever, different
on the
views,
political spectrum,
just is like, oh, that's dog shit. Like how people like can't, I'm sure, and it goes the same way. People can't enjoy things because of the crazy stuff that the left is doing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous that you just can't
like
enjoy
people,
your entertainment.
For instance, if a movie comes out that's considered woke, even if you haven't seen it, let's just say Black Panther 2. That's a good one because there's a lot of women in that, and they're like the main characters. A lot of guys, dude bros, just refuse to see it because it's woke. You don't even know if it's good. You don't even know if you'd like it because you think it's woke. Yeah. Watch it first. Like, you can walk out halfway if you don't like it, but you don't have to fucking, or don't watch it because you don't think you're going to like it, but you don't have to, if you don't, we know we've talked about this before. When we got in trouble for the stupidest fucking reason, because we said you shouldn't be able to review books on Goodreads that you haven't read.
Yeah.
Not that you tried to read and quit because you didn't like, that you haven't read at all. But people claimed you could do that, and it was a big clusterfuck. So I still stand by that. If you watch a movie, you have an opinion. If you never watched the movie, didn't watch the trailer even,
shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up. Like people that you were talking about, like fucking judge these diversity comics and don't fucking read comics anymore. Shut the fuck up. You don't have an opinion because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And I don't like that the new world we live in, everyone can have an opinion and post it to millions of people potentially.
I haven't read or watched something for 10 years, but I still know it's hot garbage.
Garbage. Yeah, okay. You can say that the trailer looks like it's hot garbage. I don't want to see Avatar 2, but I'm not going to say it's hot garbage, even though I saw Avatar 1 and didn't really care. Like, I just thought it was boring. Like we said, dancing pools. We need to go into the real episode because this is probably going to be DBS anyway. I'm drinking a Stone Cold Steve Austin Broken Skull beer. It's the lager, not the IPA. And it's actually pretty good. So as Caleb gets more inebriated, I'm sure the rants will get stronger. But what? Oh, I fucking always hated that. That's the one thing I didn't like Stone Cold for, starting that stupid what chant. So anyway, folks, stick around. You are now taking in the DPW experience. Oh yeah, fuck yeah. Sorry. You are listening to the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast, the favorite podcast of aging white men and Japanese business associates everywhere.
I like that though. I think that's
Aging white men or the Japanese business?
I like how they, but like those are that's like the intersection.
I was gonna say Japanese businessmen, but one that all of a sudden like immediately made me think of bukkake. I'm just gonna say it out loud. Bukkake. That's what I don't know why. That's what I thought. And two, I can't say aging men and Japanese businessmen. That's too. I don't like to use redundant words. I don't use words in a row, and except for alliteration, which is why I am your host, Caleb James, and with me today, Spencer, the Cypress Shit Surfer Church. I couldn't think of a better S word. Like, what else could you surf in that starts with an S?
I guess.
Silicone? I don't even have to. I don't think it starts with an S, does it?
No. I don't know.
You know what word I didn't know how to spell until yesterday?
What's that?
Kaleidoscope. I didn't realize I didn't know how to spell it until I tried to spell it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And silicone.
Is it difficult?
It's a big word. It's got stupid letters. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like one of those things that would have like the couple letters. You'd be like, "What? That's in there?"
The order of them is weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, Spencer, I said we were going to talk about books today, but not specific books. I'm sure we will because that's what we do. I wanted to touch on a topic that we've touched on in the past. We touch on many things, but this time it's a proper thing to touch. Rereading books, Spencer.
Yes.
The more I dive into the academic side of reading, leading up to my 5 books this year after I one day finished Jerusalem, which might just take the rest of the fucking year at this point. Who knows?
Yeah.
But if I do finish that by January 30th or whatever the end of the month is, I mentioned my 5 books, and they're not academic books necessarily, but they're books that are always taught in universities all over the world, and they're some of the greatest literature ever written. So I started looking into like that culture of people who are reading books more for life enrichment and I can't think of like what would be the word for that. But just like they're trying to get more than just entertainment out of their books, you know? They're not just reading for fun.
Culture?
To a degree. So the one thing I found across the board from the academic types and just the people who really read to get more out of their books than just the typical fun stuff, it's more about quality over quantity. They reread a lot of the same books over and over again. So, for instance, I listened to Reading McCarthy. It's a podcast just about the works of Cormac McCarthy. And one thing, all the guests, he has a lot of guests on there. It's a really good podcast, even if you don't really like Cormac McCarthy, believe it or not.
Yeah, I'd imagine they talk about other things.
Yeah, but a lot of them are like professors and actors and famous people. Not famous people, but, you know, level before famous. Like people that could be famous, like
it kind of reminds me of
the voiceover guys and stuff.
Of like the King cast. Like, you know, like
yeah, that level.
Yeah.
But one thing all these people have done is not just reread McCarthy's work and like his whole bibliography like a ridiculous amount of times. Like the host, because one of his favorite books, actually his favorite McCarthy book, I think is Suttree. One of the average, like the medium favorite book, it seems to be Blood Meridian, and he reads that every year. Like these people read these kind of books every year, and I remember Christopher Lee famously reread the whole Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion books every single year, like an annual thing.
I remember you talking about
wanting to. That was the first books I read that I actually wanted to like reread soon, you know.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to think like I got you 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami for Christmas, and I got myself the same edition, like the 3 books instead of the one big one. And I'm like, hey, I actually would like to reread that. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh, that would be cool. I want to reread that. And then I'm like, wait a minute. There's so many other Haruki Murakami books to read.
Yeah.
But now I want to reread a book. And then I'm like, I want to reread Lord of the Rings. So now I'm getting to the point where it's like, when do you slow down on your new stuff and just start rereading stuff that, 1, you just really enjoy, or 2, you want to get more out of that book and you want to take a deeper dive into that book? Because on first read, you never really take a deep dive, do you? It's kind of hard.
Not really.
Unless you're a really slow reader and you one of those people like to take notes and stuff. But I don't enjoy books that way. I guess it would also depend on what you read. Like if you're just reading a lot of Stephen King and stuff, you probably don't need a deep dive, right? That's like just watching, like a fun movie.
No, I mean, I did always say that eventually I want to go back and reread the Dark Tower series.
Mm-hmm. But you could deep dive that because there's so much lore involved in that.
And other than maybe like I could see you trying to maybe do like a deep dive on like The Stand or It again, just because those are bigger things. You could.
Do you think you would read that a lot differently then? Like, say we'll use It as an example.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, it's not small, but compared to like the Dark Tower and stuff.
Yeah, it's a single book.
Yeah. So if you went back and read It, how would you read that now? Would you I'm just going to read it beginning to end like I normally would, but now you know everything. So would you take your time, maybe reread passages, maybe even skip around. Maybe if there's a section that's boring, you don't care about, just skip it.
Yeah, I would. I'd be interested to see, because like I don't reread a lot of stuff. Normally, if I do reread something, it's like comics or graphic novels.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like actual prose novels, I don't ever reread too much of anything. I do plan on sometime this year starting over the Dexter series of books. Yeah. And like I read like the first 2 or 3 of those, and I was gonna just start from the, you know what I mean? Because it's been so long, I can't remember where I left off. So I was gonna, I'd end up rereading the first couple of those again, but those on. They were like a couple 100-page, crime kind of thrillers. It's not,
Well, I've always been in the camp, and maybe this is just from things like if you're an avid comic book reader, it's kind of hard to just, let's say, start at the beginning of this first Spider-Man run, go all the way through, and then go back and read stuff again. Like, it's just too hard. Or even mangas are like that. And then, you have a lot of book series. Usually they're not as long, but like, say you read all the Expanse books, and then you wanted to reread them. The main thing is I've always been in the camp where there's too much new stuff I haven't read to bog myself down by rereading stuff. And I think, well, I don't do that with movies. In fact, there's a lot of times where there's new movies I want to watch that are on my list, but I end up watching The Princess Bride or Pulp Fiction or Forrest Gump for the 5th fucking millionth time.
Well, there's probably the time it takes is one,
Well,
thing.
Yeah, the time it takes is obviously a big obstacle. But at the same time, like, say I'm watching Forrest Gump for the 30th time in a row this year. Like, or, it's a really good one, The Green Mile.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where now I just have favorite parts. So if it's on, I don't even, or Pulp Fiction too, it's like if it's on, I don't really have to watch beginning to end.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, after you see something so many times, you just skip to the parts you like or whatever.
You're just joking with Forrest Gump is an excellent one of that. You can literally come in almost anywhere.
And you're just enjoying
in that
it.
movie, and it's fine.
Go clean your fucking room or something, come back, watch some more. But why can't your favorite books be like that? They can. You could just go and skip through. I don't need these chapters. I just want to read this chapter where I know what happens and I enjoy it.
Well, I assume a lot of that, too, is from, like, people who, they were, like, older people, because I do think, like, when you do kind of hit, like, a certain age, you do kind of, like, this is the stuff that I read when I was growing up or whenever I was younger that I really like. Like, we talk about, like, with music. We don't keep up with any of the new music. You just keep on listening.
Stick with what you like.
Well, listening to the stuff you like. So I do believe at, like, a certain age. And then also, too, I think then once you spend, like, if you're, like, 50 or 60 and you were an avid reader, since you were, like, young enough to read, full knowledge, you probably got a good section of, like...
What you'd want to
like,
read.
I guess we still having, like, there's a lot of classes, like, I read, like, the 4 main H.G. Wells books. I would like to read his other stuff. People who've read the stuff already, it's like... You're already kind of, you're caught up already, kind of. And if you're not interested in keeping, relevant with any newer things,
right.
Then, you just keep on reading the stuff that you've already read.
Well, there's a few factors at play as well. So, for instance, you go by the age thing. When, you slow down as you get older, so you probably have more time. Especially if you're working less, you have more time to read. And I don't know if this applies to all people who, when they're older, probably not, but I would think that, because just going from even me, who's 36 now, you savor things more than you used to. So I would imagine your books, you would read them, you'd slow down, because sometimes I feel like I got to speed up because I got more books in the future I want to read.
I was going to say, to just go back to the Stephen King stuff, that would be one thing when I would, even if it wasn't something like The Stand, if I just was like, you know what, I've pretty much read all of it, like, I've read everything, I'm just going to go and start from the beginning, and whenever I have a free time, I'm going to pick the next book up and reread it. I probably would, because especially there at the beginning, whenever I was mostly just reading Stephen King, I was just kind of like, all right, I wanted to finish this book. I finished it. I liked it. It was good. Okay, what's the next book? Like, you know what I mean? You know, especially at that time, it's like, oh, there's like 60 books. I'm going to have to hurry up and get through all these if I ever want to get done with them, you know?
You could take your time with them once you've already read them. Well, here's another thing, too. Another good point is when you revisit books, especially when there was, because for us, like, you know, we're in our 30s. If you really look, especially when we started reading, we don't have that big of a time frame, honestly.
Yeah.
So when we revisit books, at the earliest, it'd probably be from our teens, like where we maybe would be able to appreciate the book for what it was. But when you revisit books at different parts of your life, you get to view them from your new perspective. So
you might relate to a different character than you did the second time around.
That's why Catcher in the Rye, for instance, people when they were teenagers, it hit them really hard. When they read it as adults, they thought this is a little whiny prick. I don't like it. I'd imagine I think a lot of books are like that, where if you revisit them multiple times in your life, as you age, it's almost a new experience. While if you read Carrie, for instance, as a teenager, you could probably relate with the character of Carrie. Versus when you're an older person, all of a sudden now you see this troubled girl, you're viewing her more as maybe a daughter figure or a little sister or something. Like you just view what's happening differently. I mean, Carrie's an extreme example, but if you were at her age when you read, you know, her age in the book when you read that, if you didn't relate to the character being a loser, you might just think, oh, well, I mean, suck it up. It's not that bad. You're getting bullied, so what? Everybody gets bullied. Like you wouldn't see it the same way. But when you're an adult and you have some life perspective, it's a little different. So I would like to revisit some books from my youth, but it's hard because I kind of already did that. Like this year, I reread a lot of the Poe stuff I read when I was a teenager, and I got a lot more out of it. I understood them more as well. Like Gulliver's Travels would be a good one I can go back on. A lot of the Sherlock Holmes stuff. I tried Moby Dick, and you know what? I seemed to got less. I enjoyed it less than I did when I was a little kid reading it. I think like I just got because I understood it more, and I was just more pissed off for some reason. Like, why is so much fish talk? Maybe I liked the fish talk before I knew stuff about fish. I don't know. But I am definitely switching my view of there's too much new stuff. I need to just keep moving forward, marching forward, and reading. And now I'm starting to think I'm never going to be able to read everything anyway.
No.
So once because I'm actually getting to the point where like all the classics that I've always wanted to read, I'm not almost done with them. I got years more to go, but I'm closing in.
Those big ones that you always wanted to,
like the life goal ones. Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, I got those. What's the next ones on the list? Like you got your top 5 now. What's 6 through 10?
And now also I'm at the point where I probably should start finding some more favorite authors to read because I've read
Stephen King.
I'm working on it. I've read most of Haruki Murakami stuff. I read almost all of Steinbeck. I read all of fucking Hemingway. I read not Fitzgerald yet. I only read The Great Gatsby. H.P. Lovecraft. And not all these guys are my favorites, by the way. But like H.P. Lovecraft, I read most of his stuff. Edgar Allan Poe, I'm at least halfway to. I got to read one of his only novel, then some more short stories, and I'm done with him. So it's like I'm getting to the point now where I need new authors to find, and there's still plenty on my list that I would like to read some more Dick. Yeah, I'm reading some more Dick. I got some more Moorcock. Got some more Moorcock I got to read. I still got a bunch of Robert E. Howard stuff that's not Conan to read. So I still got some authors that are there, but those are all more like fluffy genre stuff. As far as like the literary guys though, I would be getting into like we see on the Classic Lit group all the time, a bunch of like French and Italian names. I have no idea who these people are, never heard of the work. Like that's probably where I'm headed now.
But like, do you want to head there though?
I don't know if the work's good, but at some point, like probably in my 50s, I'll have to. Because I'll be out of classic author. Or either that or finally read like Pride and Prejudice. I don't know. Read the Bronte sisters and stuff and Jane Austen. Or I could just devolve and just start reading a bunch of old shit comics that I never got to that aren't really good at all.
And what I think too, the main thing that should be taken out of this is if it's new or if you've read it previously, that you should just read whatever you're gonna get enjoyment out of.
Yeah,
that's the big thing. Reading and getting some enjoyment, unless, like you said, if you're trying to, write a paper on something.
More of an educational standpoint.
Things like, I do get that. Yeah, like I said, just the whatever. Like it kind of almost goes to like what we were talking about in the cold open of like read what you want and you know what you want to read.
Well, here's the thing. As I was talking before about enriching yourself through books, and rereading's a way of doing that. What enriches your life more than doing something you enjoy?
Yeah.
So if it's a book you enjoy, even though you've read it before, even if it's not a book that's, a deep meaning book or is a life-changing book for most people, if you enjoy it, that's still worthwhile. I can watch Forrest Gump all the time, and I still get that little twinge of like, I like this, it just makes you happy. There's nothing wrong with that.
Maybe we should do that for a book of a month. One time is read Forrest Gump.
The book version?
Yeah.
I'd read some Forrest Gump.
And then
He goes to the moon or something, I think, in the book.
Well, and so do you know there's a sequel book?
Yeah.
I guess I read the back of it, and it was like the shrimp boat's not doing good. And it was like, oh, Forrest.
Ah, shit. Everything goes downhill for him. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, when we go into this year, like, because I have the lofty reading goals now, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to enjoy. Like, I've worked my way up to it.
Yeah.
So, like, I read, like, the Iliad and stuff. I feel like I'll enjoy it now, whereas I tried to read it probably 10 years ago, and I was just like, this is boring. But now I don't have that same mindset. I don't find that stuff is boring now. So I think I will enjoy that stuff. But at the same time, I know probably after reading the Iliad and the Odyssey or the Aeneid, there's going to have to be a break where I just like, I really need to read something fun. Something that's actually fun, I don't know how there's a lot of those guys where it's just like, I only read the classic literature. And it's just like, how are you reading this dense Crime and Punishment, War and Peace? Like, how are you reading all this stuff and just that's all you read?
Well, I think those kind of guys, and ladies, whatever, people, if that's okay to call them people.
No, they're not people. Not anymore. Once you become I love nonfiction, World War II, salted meats, smoking meats, and like once you go in that weird like khaki short thing phase, like cargo shorts, like what you just become one of those guys, and you sit in your fucking study and smoke pipes and just read Ulysses over and over. Like you're not a person anymore. You're a weirdo.
Well, I was gonna say I don't think that those people are necessarily like we were talking about reading for enjoyment. I think those are more just smarter people, to say it in a dumb way. It's just like they're reading it to see what they can like pull from the text or whatever meaning they can get from it and the historical context and all that kind of stuff. They're not reading it because they're necessarily interested in the story or taken away by the story. It's like this is more of it's literature, but it's more of a like historical kind of thing.
Well, using Ulysses or Finnegan's Wake as an example, I think a lot of those kind of people, they tend to, even though it's not a game, the way they go about it's like solving a puzzle. So not only getting like the historical stuff out of it and the meanings of things, it's like solving a puzzle. It's like a game. It's like they're having fun doing something, even though, to us it's complex and probably, like you said, they're probably really smart. So they are probably enjoying it. Obviously, nobody does things that they hate. Like,
because I always feel like if like those kind of guys, like if you gave them like a Neil Gaiman book, they'd probably just like how we couldn't read those.
They'd be so bored.
They just wouldn't get into it. They wouldn't enjoy it. It's just whatever tickles your funny bone.
Which I can understand now because a lot of the stuff I've been reading, I get more focus on the prose. The style of the prose, the poetic meaning of things, the metaphor usage, the allegories. Like I focus more on that stuff than I've ever done before. And I'm like, oh shit, this makes it like, it's again, you go to that deeper level. And it's like, oh, this is beyond the story. And then that's when you start understanding things like For Whom the Bell Tolls and even Blood Meridian. Like you start to understand, oh, it's not the story that's important. It's the things that aren't said. It's the deeper meaning of things. It's the feelings and the emotions in this. But that's literary fiction. And then genre fiction, it's the story. But I could, like you said, I could picture, which I always worry that's going to happen to me. Because, now I'm playing chess.
Yeah.
I got a wine cooler. You see the sweater I'm wearing.
Yeah.
You see the fancy sweater I'm wearing now. It's just one step below a cardigan.
Really, honestly, I just kind of like, because wasn't Hemingway big on them, but like they were like.
He had the big neck, the turtleneck sweaters. But anyway, what I'm saying is I could see myself And I think it's been coming. I like you becoming the manga guy, like in the anime, going deep into that. No matter how you fight it, you just steer where the life takes you. And I think I'm becoming the guy who at one point, maybe in my 50s, I won't read genre stuff anymore. Maybe once in a while I'll be like, I'll pick up a fluffy Stephen King book for Spencer's sake.
Yeah.
But like, I might not be into that anymore. I don't know. Of course, I could be wrong. I could have like this epic backlash where I go too deep into this shit and I'm like, my brain's fried. I don't like it no more.
Well, that's like even like I even had this one I had like a little conversation with my one friend because like his older daughter there for a little bit was into like the anime and like the My Hero Academia and stuff like that because I was gonna like let him borrow some of like the DVDs and stuff I had so she could watch them, and then like she kind of just went out of them and he was like a little upset, and I was like, well, like she's like a teenager, she's probably gonna get into like more kind of quote unquote girly things or whatever, and you never know, like you can always circle back around, like you know what I mean, like that happens for a lot of people, like you know, especially at that age, you just so like just don't want to get picked on, so. But I mean, I think that even applies for like later in life. Like I know just even like I go in ebb and flows, like you were saying, of like I'll go for like we're heavy like on books for a couple months, and then like I'll just take a couple weeks off and I'll just go through like a shit ton of comic books that I had, you know, backed up on and stuff like that. But I could definitely see me coming down here one day and all the lights are off except one shitty corner of it. You're in your chair with this big ass book. Your legs are folded. You have a big glass of champagne, and you're just like, Spencer, how we recording the podcast?
That is not that far off because I had to buy a special book stand because some of the books I have on my list are so big I can't hold them while reading.
You just somehow you just recently got glasses, but they're like those super thin, just like reading glasses that just sit at the top of the peak of your nose.
They don't even magnify anything. They're just glass just for show. I hope that happens to me. I bought my brother pipe tobacco for Christmas and I was smelling it and I'm like, man.
It smells good, right?
I'm so close to being a pipe guy. They just sitting there. I just imagine how enjoyable you just sit there, just puffing away while reading a good book in front of the roaring fire.
Well, this is a good thing. Like, if you did go that way with like the tobacco, you have less of like the killing things of you. I mean, it's still not great for you, but like at least you're not like making tiny cuts in your lungs and throats with the.
I'll just stick with the fancy whiskeys. I still got the fancy whiskey. I'll just swirl and drink, and you know, though I do need to get rich so I could actually get a roaring fire instead of electric fireplace. It's not as fancy, and I don't have a really cool chair, and I don't really have a study. I have
like one of those like really like high backed and comfortable chairs with
kind of like my reading chair in my bedroom, but even cooler,
even more uncomfortable,
more lumpier, more lumpy. Yeah, because look, I got kind of a home library, but it's all over the place. It doesn't count. It's more of this is like a hybrid, 1 podcast studio, 2 man cave, 3 bar. So that goes with the man cave. So it's like podcast studio, man cave / library study. It's not what I want. I want a specific study. I'm trying to get Mindy to divorce me and I get the house and then I get her room her beauty room, turn that into the study. That's the goal.
Yeah.
That's probably a bad goal.
Well, then you can turn the bedroom into something else and just sleep on the couch.
Well, the problem is we wouldn't have these issues. Somebody let me get more book fucking cases around the house, but nobody wants to let me get bookcases around the house. I'm not allowed. Now I got the bookcases where the books are stacking up awkwardly in front of the bookcase. I'm like, I don't like that.
Doesn't look nice.
No, it doesn't look presentable for all these books I'll never reread. Fucking hate that too. There's so many books and it's like, are you ever gonna reread this? You haven't read any of these yet. I don't know. So anyway, Spencer, any pressing matters other than the rereading? Are you gonna reread anything soon? I'm not. If I do, it's probably gonna be Lord of the Rings or 1Q84, like I said.
Yeah, nothing immediate that I can think of.
I'll tell you what. If whenever you get to 1Q84, if you get to it this year and I'm not like I'm caught up on whatever I was doing, I'll reread it with you.
Ooh, okay.
We'll do a podcast on that. We can do a Murakami Minute on it. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, we're already gonna do one for Dance and stuff, but we could do one for that. And I whatever my next Stephen King book is, then you could reread that if we go that route.
Yeah.
It'll probably be Salem's Lot, even though I really don't want to read that. I'll probably be Salem's Lot or Pet Sematary. I haven't decided. A lot of times when I go into the Stephen King stuff, I end up looking at like the page count. I'll go with the smaller one now.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's because Salem Slide is the one is like I don't really want to read it because I heard nothing but like not shit things, but it's just not that good.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but we'll see. So anyway, folks, if you like this kind of episode, this one should be a DBS episode.
Kinda.
Mainly just because the intro was so long, or maybe not. I don't know. The last episode should have been a DBS episode, but it turned out we were on topic for so long, it became a regular episode, and we were on topic this whole time.
Yeah.
This will be a regular episode. Fuck it. You know what? I do what I want because I got a fancy sweater and fancy socks.
Yeah, you know the messed up thing is by the time they listen to this, they will already know if it's a DBS or regular episode. Like.
So this whole conversation is moot. It is moot. It is stupid. If you want to check out, I'm gonna say if you want to check out artwork, go to, and I'm gonna say the website. And then you're real sad. Real sad.
Just crack.
No, if you want to check out my work, you can. You can go to calebjamesk.com. Don't forget the K. And you can also check out my publication history. Remember, it's actually building now. If Spencer would ever create an author website, you can go to his. But for now, you have to go to a stupid OnlyFans. I don't remember what your name was.
I'm
Cypress Shit Surfer.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm surfing shit somewhere. I couldn't remember where.
In Cyprus, little island off Turkey, Greece. It's a Greek island, I think. Cyprus is its own country, isn't it? You don't know. I'm asking you. It's one of the oldest nations in the world. Fucking jerk, don't know your history.
No clue.
You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Any more? Is that it? OnlyFans, why not? At DPW Podcast. And I think that's all. Try the Stone Cold beer. It's pretty good. This is Steve Austin's Broken Skull American Lager, and I dig it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. That didn't sound right. What's his other catchphrase?
The Stone Cold, because you said so.
Yeah.
Because, you said so.
Yeah, say something first to say so.
Yeah.
Anyway, folks, thank you for listening. We'll check you next time.